Hey there! This is the Emerald Coast on the north of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Unlike many Caribbean coastlines, it is home to the beautiful pink flamingos that come every year to the salt water of estuaries and wetlands to feed and mate. The quality of this video is not that good because I was recording with the phone on a vertical position. Truth is, I was so stunned watching them as we just happened to drive by that I was not even paying much attention to how I held the phone. But anyways, having lived near them for 4 years, it was time for me to dedicate a theme to these amazing creatures and the beautiful landscape that surrounds them. So I got to do some research and some interesting facts to share with you as I set up this flamboyant theme. Speaking of which, did you know that the collective noun to describe a gathering of flamingos is flamboyance, a fitting term for these bright-colored and elegant feathered creatures? Due to their stunning pink feathers and behavior, they are symbols of beauty, balance, and swagger. Since they are commonly located in the Caribbean, they are associated with tropical vibes, summertime, and paradise-like sceneries. That is why, for my quote, I chose this phrase from the Coldplay song Paradise. For the cover, I wanted to do some washi tape art. So after picking a variety of shades that were inspired by the flamingos and the sea, I started cutting stripes right here over the paper, because this paper is so thick that it can take a cutter knife if you apply the right amount of pressure. I am leaving an oval shape around my quote, and also to accommodate the flamingo that I will be drawing on the bottom right. Last month I made the same design for my lemon cover, and so I might stick to this design for the rest of the year. As you can see, doing washi tape art takes some time, but I definitely think that it is worth it. Like I could not have achieved the effect of that holographic washi with markers. For the drawing part, I will be using markers and a gel pen. For the water, I am using my watercolor technique with that beautiful turquoise Tombow. It dries really fast on this particular paper, but that works great for when you are trying to convey the idea of tranquil water with some slight waves. Then I just added a line of mint green simulating the horizon. I have been wanting to use these neon red colors for quite some time. That marker from Stabilo and then the gel pen from Sakura with which I will be filling the flamingo, they are one of the 2 shades of pink that I like, and getting to draw with them was a blast. Gel pens dry in such a cool way that it almost looks like a sticker. And speaking of color, one of the things I learned living here was that flamingos are born with a grayish color that gradually turns white. They only develop their pink hue due to the natural pigments in the microscopic algae and shrimps that they feed on. So that's how their feathers flush to pink. Actually, if you see an adult white flamingo, it's probably because it's sick or malnourished. This time around, I will be adding tabs like the last time. And as I was figuring out how to better trim them, I tried 4 different ways to do it. I know that I could just buy a corner rounder, but these things are kind of expensive in my opinion, so I just rather do it myself. It doesn't take that much time at all. So as you can see, this time I am using my tiny pocket knife scissors and eyeing the shape, trying to make it as equal to the natural roundness of the page as possible. All that is left now is to add the name of the month, and the cover is done. I really love using those white gel pens over pastel colors. I think that it really stands out and it gives them a really cool vibe. I really like the layouts that I used last month. They worked a lot better, which is the most important thing, and so I am repeating them as they were. Starting with the monthly log in 2 columns and adding my social media panel to the right. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed that I have been posting more stories and reels, so that indicates that this layout is really working. Back to the flamingos, I learned many things from a documentary on Disney Plus named The Crimson Wing. If you have not watched it and want to, I advise you to close your eyes when the marabou storks appear. This documentary was filmed in Africa, and so flamingos there are faced with these cruel enemies that ruthlessly attack their cheeks as they watch pretty much helpless. I was not expecting to see such graphic scenes in a Disney documentary, but oh well, that's how life is in the wild, right? If you're of the faint-hearted, you can skip that part. Other than that, it truly is a wonderful documentary that shows you the whole cycle of life of the beautiful flamingos. And there is so much to learn, but some of the few things that stuck with me were the fact that they can live up to 40 years and that they stand on one leg to save energy, to reduce muscular fatigue, and to regulate their body temperature, so they can even sleep on one leg. As I am writing the script for the voiceover, I realized that I didn't draw a baby flamingo, and I really wanted to draw one. Of course, I can still do it for one of the weeklies, but baby flamingos are, like most babies, the cutest things. Some of the sounds that they make are almost human-like, and as they grow, they are cared for by the whole flock. Since they nest in very salty water, flamingos build their nests from salty mud that bakes, bleaches, and hardens into a cradle for the egg. Sadly, the problem comes later when the chicks start walking. Some of them remain too much time in the water, and they develop salt boots, which are like rocky salt formations all along their legs. So these gradually grow and prevent them from walking, and of course, they end up dying. About 500,000 adults and chicks live in Season's noisy and boisterous nursery, and it was amazing to see that there comes a point when something calls them away from the place they were born, and so the hundreds of thousands of chicks start migrating by foot as they are led away by guardian adults. Flamingos choose their partners very carefully. They are monogamous, and so they try to be with members that are suitable both to reproduce and to take care of the nest, since it is a responsibility that both share. To attract the attention of the females, the male flamingos do a series of dances in which they exhibit their health and plumage. Researchers have observed that the ability of flamingos to perform these dances reaches its maximum maturity at the age of 20. Then, the mating dance is difficult for the larger flamingos, since on average they do 2 to 8 different postures every 5 minutes and 2 to 17 transitions. A small parenthesis here, because for the second way to round the tap, I am basically doing 3 stray cuts. One big one and a couple of smaller ones to get rid of the pointy edges. And as you can see, I am again using my handy pocket knife tiny scissors. I think this is quite an easy way to do it. Anyway, back to the flamingos. During his dance, the pink of his plumage exhibits the male flamingo's health, because the more concentrated it is, the healthier the flamingo will be. The black on their wings is what indicates the quality of their genes for females. After finding the right partner, the female lays one egg, although sometimes they can have 2, and incubate for 30 days, and then the flamingo chicks are born, with a completely white plumage that will turn pink as they acquire the nutrients that they need. When the flamingos are still too young to feed themselves, the parents take turns feeding them through what is called crop milk. It comes out of their digestive tract and is very similar to that of pigeons. Feeding time might look gruesome because the milk is blood red colored, but it gives the babies all the nutrients that they need. There are 4 flamingo species distributed throughout the Americas, including the Caribbean, and 2 species native to Afro-Eurasia. Here in Mexico, we have the pink or Caribbean flamingo, which can amount up to 40,000 birds during the fall and winter. It is an endangered species, so it's good to know that the government here has made efforts to preserve the flamingo habitats, because it seems that the presence of tourists has pushed them to change their usual location to a less visited one, and that is the one that the authorities are protecting. So if you ever come across these animals in the wild, always remember to be respectful and do not come close, for they get scared easily. One of the things that puts them in danger is illegal hunting, and this is because of their feathers. So never ever buy any feathers, so that this exploitation can be done away with. Flamingos, as all animal creatures, deserve our admiration and respect, so that we can continue to bask at their sight and be inspired by their elegance, endurance, and attachment to their mates and their little ones. I am just finishing the washi tape art in my health tracker, which by the way I have been loving. It is probably my most favorite tracker out of all the ones that I've tried. The quote that I chose for this flamingo was really fitting, because I have been treating my cervical rectification, and many times my physiotherapist reminds me to try and stand tall so that I can get a better posture. And so that is exactly what I'm writing right here. Flamingos kind of set a good example at standing tall. And here is another way in which I rounded the corner. First, after setting the washi tape on it, I carefully cut the washi on the corner that is already rounded, following the original shape of the notebook, as you can see here. And then I carefully place it on the corner that I want to round, and I just try to follow the shape. And of course, this makes it look exactly like the original, and you just have to be careful so that you can keep that tiny bit of washi intact in the transition. And now I have only the weekly left to finish this setup, so as I do that, I will leave you with the background music. And here is the final flip through of this summery theme that combined a bit of the place I live in with the beauty of these majestic creatures that continue to mesmerize us. I hope that you enjoy the theme. I always welcome all your theme suggestions, so let me know any ideas that you might have for the rest of the months. Thank you for all the support and all the lovely words. And as usual, thank you so much for watching.